The morning sun rose over the forest, its golden rays streaming through the dense canopy of trees. Buddha sat beneath a vast banyan tree, his calm presence drawing disciples and travelers seeking his wisdom. One of the gathered men, named Ananda, spoke up with a troubled expression on his face. "Master, anger consumes my heart when wronged," Ananda confessed, his voice heavy with frustration and shame. Buddha turned his serene gaze upon Ananda, his voice calm and steady like a flowing stream. "Ananda," Buddha began, "anger is a flame that burns not the object, but the one who carries it." "Ananda, why do you hold your thoughts so tightly?" Buddha inquired, his words cutting through the quiet morning air. Ananda hesitated, his head bowed, struggling to articulate his feelings. But as he prepared to strike, the coal burned his palm, leaving searing pain that lingered long after. He continued. Ananda's eyes grew wide as Buddha's words painted vivid imagery of the destructive power of anger. "Anger is a poison we drink, hoping another will suffer," Buddha said, his words rippling through the audience. "Master, how can one rid themselves of such anger when it arises so fiercely?" Ananda asked earnestly. Buddha closed his eyes briefly, his expression serene as the forest whispered around them. "By understanding its nature," Buddha replied, "anger is impermanent, like a storm passing across a clear sky." The rustle of leaves seemed to accentuate Buddha's words, as if nature itself agreed with his teaching. "Observe the anger without attachment," Buddha said. "Do not feed it, and it will fade like embers cooling to ash." Ananda nodded, though uncertainty still lingered in his heart, his thoughts swimming in doubt and reflection. Buddha extended his arm, gesturing toward the forest that surrounded them in eternal embrace. "Do you see the trees here, Ananda?" Buddha asked, his voice light yet commanding attention. "Yes, Master," Ananda replied, his eyes following Buddha's gesture toward the towering forest of ancient trunks. "When the wind blows fiercely, the trees sway but remain rooted," Buddha explained, his tone filled with clarity. "Anger is like the wind," Buddha continued. "It passes, and if we remain grounded, it cannot uproot us." The disciples nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting awe and understanding at Buddha's profound metaphor. "But Master, what if the anger feels justified?" A young disciple interjected, his brow furrowed with curiosity. Buddha turned his gaze to the young disciple, his expression as calm as the still waters of a lake. "Even justified anger consumes the holder," Buddha explained, his words gentle yet firm, carrying wisdom beyond measure. "It is not the action of others but our reaction that determines our suffering," Buddha added. The young disciple looked down, his inner struggle evident as he considered the Master's teachings. Buddha then shared a story of two monks who carried a grudge over a small insult that ruined their friendship. The insult was fleeting, but their anger turned into a burden they carried far longer. Buddha narrated, "Let go of anger, and you let go of the chain binding you to suffering," he concluded. A sense of calm settled over the group as Buddha's teachings resonated deeply in their minds and hearts. "Master, is it possible to live without anger at all?" Ananda asked, his voice tinged with hopeful curiosity. Buddha smiled softly, his gaze shifting to the distant horizon where the sun now illuminated the world. "It is not the absence of anger but the mastery over it that leads to peace," Buddha replied. "Recognize anger as a teacher, not an enemy," Buddha said. "It shows where attachments and expectations lie." The disciples reflected on this, their thoughts swirling with newfound understanding and determination. "Anger, when understood, transforms into compassion and patience," Buddha continued, his voice imbued with compassion itself. "Master, can you share a method to practice when anger arises?" Ananda inquired, seeking practical guidance. Buddha placed his hands gently together, his fingers forming a gesture of serene unity and balance. First, pause and breathe deeply, Buddha instructed. For breath is the anchor when the winds of anger howl. Second, observe the anger as though it were a guest at your door, Buddha said, his tone patient. Third, ask yourself, what does this anger seek to protect or demand? Buddha continued, his words deliberate. Finally, release the attachment, for nothing is permanent, not the anger nor its cause, Buddha concluded. Ananda and the disciples repeated the steps quietly, internalizing the practice Buddha shared with them. Anger can destroy or it can teach, depending on our approach, Buddha said, his words timeless and universal. A bird called out in the distance, its song a gentle reminder of nature's harmony and impermanence. Buddha gestured toward the bird, his face alight with understanding and a gentle, knowing smile. Even the bird's call fades. Like all things, Buddha said, so too shall anger fade when not held tightly. Ananda began to write, his pen moving steadily across the parchment. His earlier struggles seemed a distant memory as inspiration began to flow effortlessly from his pen. Buddha stood, his presence as steady and serene as the mountains in the far distance. Let us continue our journey, Buddha said, his voice calm and resolute. May peace guide your hearts and minds. The disciples rose, carrying the weight of wisdom rather than the burden of anger. As they followed Buddha, another day, the sun's first light kissed the earth. As Buddha and his disciples traveled through a dense, vibrant forest, the path was narrow, shadowed by towering trees, their roots intertwined like an eternal dance of nature's resilience. As they walked, they encountered villagers huddled together, faces pale, their eyes wide with the weight of fear. One elderly man among them approached Buddha, his trembling hands clasped in desperation, his voice barely above a whisper. Master, the forest is haunted by wild beasts, the man said. Their growls fill our nights with terror, stealing our peace. Buddha listened with unwavering calm, his eyes meeting the elders, reflecting compassion and understanding for their plight. Fear takes root in the mind, not the forest, Buddha replied. Tell me, have these beasts harmed anyone yet? The elder hesitated, his voice faltering. No, Master, but their presence looms like a shadow over our lives. Buddha nodded gently and gestured for the villagers to gather closer under the shelter of a nearby tree. Let me share a story, Buddha began, his voice a soothing balm for their frayed nerves. There was once a young monk who feared crossing a river, Buddha said, his tone calm and steady. He imagined the river teeming with monstrous fish, each one eager to swallow him whole, Buddha continued. But when he finally crossed, he found calm waters, clear and devoid of imagined threats, Buddha concluded. The villagers listened intently, their expressions shifting as the weight of Buddha's words began to sink in. Master, how do we banish fear when it grips us so tightly? A woman asked, her voice tinged with hope. By understanding its nature, Buddha replied. Fear thrives on imagination and fades when confronted with the light of reality. He gestured toward the forest canopy, where sunlight filtered through, illuminating the ground in patches of golden warmth. Fear is like the darkness here, Buddha explained. The moment sunlight touches it, the shadows retreat into nothingness. The villagers nodded, their minds grasping the metaphor, their hearts beginning to feel a glimmer of courage. Do not resist fear, Buddha said. Welcome it as a visitor, but do not let it linger or dictate your actions. The forest seemed to listen, its rustling leaves echoing Buddha's words, as if nature itself bore witness to his teachings. How do we tell the difference between real danger and imagined fear? A young man asked, his voice earnest. Buddha turned to the young man, his gaze steady, his presence radiating wisdom and serenity. Observe closely, Buddha said. Real danger demands action. Imagined fear feeds on the stories we weave within our minds. The young man nodded slowly, his thoughts turning inward, reflecting on the distinction Buddha had revealed. Master, what if fear returns, stronger than before? Another villager asked, her tone both curious and apprehensive. Fear, like the wind, may come and go, Buddha replied. But a strong tree does not fear the storm. The villagers looked at the trees around them, their sturdy trunks a silent testament to Buddha's analogy. Strengthen your roots with mindfulness, Buddha said. Ground yourself in the present moment, and fear will lose its grip. Buddha then invited the villagers to close their eyes and focus on their breaths, a practice to anchor their minds. Inhale deeply, feel the air fill your lungs, Buddha instructed. Exhale slowly, release the tension that fear brings. The sound of collective breathing filled the air, a rhythmic harmony that calmed the group's restless spirits. Master, does fear serve any purpose? Ananda asked, his voice thoughtful as he watched the villagers practice mindfulness. Fear is a messenger, Buddha replied. It tells us where we feel vulnerable, but it must not become our master. Buddha shared a tale of a man who feared losing his wealth, only to discover peace by letting go of attachment. Fear often points to what we cling to, Buddha said. Release attachment, and you release the root of fear. The villagers whispered among themselves, their faces lighter, their expressions reflecting newfound clarity and determination. Master, what if we fail to overcome fear? The elderly man asked, his voice still tinged with apprehension. Failure is but a step on the path, Buddha replied. Buddha's disciples stood nearby, observing the transformation with quiet awe. Creativity requires trust, Buddha explained. Turning to address them, remember, fear is impermanent, Buddha said. It arises, lingers, and fades, like clouds passing across the sky. The villagers looked up, their eyes finding solace in the open sky above, its vastness a reminder of impermanence. Master, will we ever live without fear? A child asked, her voice innocent and full of wonder. Buddha smiled warmly, his expression soft as he addressed the child's sincere question. Living without fear comes not from its absence but from understanding and mastering it, Buddha replied. The child nodded, her small hands clasped together, her eyes reflecting newfound courage and trust. Let us walk together, Buddha said, inviting the villagers to join him and his disciples on their journey. As they walked, the villagers began to share their stories and fears, their hearts lighter with each step forward. Buddha listened patiently, his presence a steady beacon of wisdom and compassion, guiding them with every word. The forest, once a source of dread, now felt like a sanctuary, its vibrant life a testament to balance and resilience. Buddha gestured toward a deer grazing nearby, its gentle movements a reflection of the forest's harmony. Even the deer knows peace, for it lives in the present, Buddha said. Let us learn from nature's simplicity. The villagers smiled, their faces reflecting a sense of peace they had not felt in a long time. As the sun reached its zenith, casting its golden glow over the forest, Buddha spoke once more. Fear, when understood, becomes a path to wisdom, Buddha said. Let it guide you but never control you. Buddha reached for a lump of clay and shaped it into a small figurine of a bird. Life itself is art, Buddha remarked, placing the figurine among the vessels. You have lifted the shadows from our hearts. Buddha bowed his head gently, his expression serene, as he prepared to continue his journey with his disciples. May you walk your paths with courage and clarity, Buddha said, his words a blessing and a farewell. The villagers watched as Buddha and his disciples disappeared into the forest, their footsteps a testament to peace. In their hearts, fear no longer loomed as a shadow, but as a teacher, guiding them toward understanding and balance. Another day, The sun rose over the city of Savatthi, casting light on its bustling streets and tranquil monastery grounds. Buddha sat near a lotus pond, his serene presence attracting disciples and visitors seeking guidance and wisdom. Among them was a young man named Dhanananda, his face etched with anger and resentment toward a rival merchant. "Master, my rival has wronged me," Dhanananda began. "He stole my customers, and hatred fills my heart like poison." Buddha turned his compassionate gaze toward Dhanananda, his voice steady and calming as ripples across still water. "Dhanananda," Buddha began, "hatred is a chain that binds you to your rival, enslaving you to his actions and cruelty." Dhanananda looked down, his fists clenched, his thoughts turbulent like a storm raging in his mind. "Hatred breeds hatred," Buddha said, his tone gentle yet firm, his words rippling through the gathered audience. "But Master, how can I forgive someone who has caused me so much harm?" Dhanananda asked earnestly. Buddha gestured toward the lotus pond, where flowers bloomed despite the mud below, their beauty undiminished. "The lotus rises above the mud," Buddha said. "Forgiveness lifts you above hatred, freeing your heart and mind." Dhanananda listened, his heart weighed down by his anger, yet yearning for the peace Buddha's words promised. "Let me share a story," Buddha began, his voice carrying wisdom woven into each word like threads of gold. "Once, there was a king consumed by hatred toward his enemies," Buddha said, his tone calm and deliberate. "He sought revenge, but his anger brought suffering to his kingdom, more than his enemies could have caused." Dhanananda's expression softened as he reflected on the destructive power of unchecked hatred, his thoughts turning inward. "Hatred blinds the heart and clouds judgment," Buddha continued, "but compassion dissolves chains, offering clarity and freedom." The disciples nodded, their faces reflecting the deep truth carried in Buddha's words and teachings. "Master, is compassion not weakness?" Dhanananda asked, his voice tinged with doubt and hesitation. Buddha smiled softly, his expression serene as the lotus pond, his eyes radiating understanding and kindness. "Compassion is strength," Buddha replied. "It takes courage to forgive, to rise above anger and extend kindness to others." He gestured toward the pond again, where small fish swam peacefully, their movements undisturbed by the world above. "Hatred is a storm, disrupting peace," Buddha explained. "Compassion is the stillness that restores harmony to the waters." Dhanananda closed his eyes briefly, his thoughts swirling as Buddha's words began to resonate deeply within him. "But Master, the wrongs remain even if I forgive," Dhanananda said, his voice revealing lingering resistance. "Forgiveness is not absolving the wrong but freeing yourself from its burden," Buddha replied, his tone steady. The disciples murmured in agreement, their expressions reflecting their understanding of Buddha's profound teachings. "Forgiveness is freedom," Buddha continued. "It cuts the chains that bind you to suffering, opening your heart to peace." Dhanananda looked at the pond, his gaze fixed on the reflection of the sky in its clear waters. "Master, how do I practice forgiveness when anger feels so overwhelming?" Dhanananda asked sincerely. "By starting small," Buddha replied. "Recognize anger, pause, breathe, and remind yourself that hatred harms you more than its target." The sun climbed higher, casting its golden rays over the pond, its warmth embracing Buddha and the gathered disciples. "Forgiveness transforms the heart," Buddha said. "It turns pain into wisdom, opening paths to compassion and understanding." Dhanananda nodded slowly, his fists unclenching, his heart beginning to release the grip of hatred. "Master, does everyone deserve forgiveness?" a disciple asked, his voice thoughtful and curious. "Forgiveness is not earned, it is given," Buddha replied. "It is a gift to yourself and others, unlocking peace and freedom." The disciple bowed his head, his thoughts reflecting the depth of Buddha's teachings on forgiveness and compassion. Hatred is a shadow cast by the mind, Buddha said. Understand it, release it, and the light will shine again. The group sat in silence, their minds absorbing the wisdom Buddha shared, their hearts finding clarity and calm. Master, what if hatred returns after I have forgiven? Dhanananda asked, his voice tinged with apprehension. Hatred, like waves, may rise again, Buddha replied. But with each forgiveness, the waves grow gentler and less frequent. The disciples nodded, their expressions reflecting newfound determination to practice forgiveness despite life's challenges. Buddha gestured toward the path leading away from the monastery, its stones worn from years of countless footsteps. Life is a journey, Buddha said. With each step of forgiveness, your path grows lighter, and peace replaces burdens. Dhanananda stood, his heart feeling the first stirrings of freedom from the chains of hatred binding him. Thank you, Master, Dhanananda said, bowing deeply, his voice filled with gratitude and reverence. Buddha smiled gently, his expression radiant with compassion and the wisdom of countless lifetimes. Walk your path with kindness and courage, Buddha said. Let forgiveness be the lantern that lights your way. The disciples rose, their spirits lifted, their minds clearer, and their hearts resolved to practice compassion and forgiveness. The sun reached its zenith, its golden rays illuminating the world as Buddha continued his teachings with serenity. In their hearts, the disciples carried Buddha's wisdom, each step taking them closer to peace and understanding. Hatred no longer loomed as a shadow over their minds, but as a lesson guiding them toward compassion and freedom. The lotus flowers swayed gently in the breeze, their beauty a reminder of resilience and harmony amidst life's struggles. Buddha's teachings echoed in their minds like ripples across still waters, timeless and profound, guiding them forward. Master, how can we embody such harmony in our creations? He asked. Buddha placed a hand on Sariputta's shoulder, his touch reassuring. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.